And so get ready for this. It's called the mosquito mayhem. So relax, sit, and listen. Watch this now.
There's one lesson the Wuhan virus has taught us. It's that messing with nature can prove to be fatal. Yet, in the quest for scientific advancement, humans continue to experiment with nature. Genetically modified mosquitoes will be released in open air for the next 12 weeks.
They are creating mosquitoes that can sting and kill people. They're creating them in the labs. They have not just they're created, they've made them. And these mosquitoes will be sent into several countries to cause harm.
We have this biotech company getting granted experimental use to release billions of these genetically engineered Aedes aegypti mosquito. This will be the biggest release of genetically engineered insects in the world.
What happens when man decides to play God?
We're becoming much more proactive. We own the science, and we think that the world, should know it.
What happens when man arrogates to himself the power to create or destroy?
So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion.
Well, let's take a look at the DNA, the very essence of life for every living organism on planet Earth. The DNA contains all the information necessary to build and maintain any living being. In other words, the DNA is the material that carries all the information about how a living thing will look and function. To alter the DNA of a living organism, be it man or animal, would result in mutation and therefore may result in disastrous consequences. It's not news that the proponents of transhumanism are actively working on changing the human DNA, thereby creating a new species of the human race. Have you heard about genetically modified organisms other than man, specifically the mosquito insect?
Genetic engineered organisms are not something that we can control.
There's concerns around GMOs in general. This particular example, people are worried about, what happens if the mosquito bites me. And while the company has talked openly about what it is they want to do, people are concerned about sort of the risks around releasing these types of mosquitoes, and they generally feel like they're being used as guinea pigs.
Currently, about 1 billion genetically modified mosquitoes have been released into several countries around the world, with the aim to curb malaria, Zika, and dengue fever.
When it comes to killing humans, no other animal is nearly as deadly as the mosquito. But in the fight against dengue fever, we actually change the mosquito so that it doesn't carry this awful disease.
When you listen to the perpetrators of such a disastrous act, it all sounds nice and for the good of humanity. But as the man of God Pastor Chris always tells us, you need to ask yourself the pertinent question: who or what is behind this idea? Oxitec, a UK-based biotechnology company, who is responsible for the release of over 1 billion genetically engineered mosquitoes all around the world, a closer look at their website reveals some very interesting details. Luke Alpay, who is the founder of Oxitec, was selected as a technology pioneer of the World Economic Forum since 2008. There they are again, the World Economic Forum, the organization headed by the transhumanist Klaus Schwab, who has made clear intentions of plans to reduce the world's population by the billions starting with Africa and Asia. Another interesting detail you will find is that the CEO of Oxitec, Gray Franson, has been the chair of the board of directors for Pilgrim Africa, an African NGO focused on malaria elimination and food security, funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. These are not mere coincidences. Is it surprising, therefore, that those responsible for the creation and release of over 1 billion genetically modified mosquitoes with the risk of introducing harmful and incurable diseases into the human population are all connected to the globalist agenda?
I told you about the genetically modified mosquitoes the other day, and these mosquitoes will be enabled to transmit viruses, deadly diseases.
Months after a Bill Gates tech startup released millions of genetically modified mosquitoes into the wild, mosquitoes across the US are testing positive to extremely rare and deadly viruses, some of which have never been seen before or reported in the United States.
The growing health warning about a deadly mosquito virus, Eastern equine encephalitis, blamed for the death of a woman in Massachusetts, and a 14-year-old girl now with a suspected case on a ventilator in Michigan. At least 3 states reporting possible human infections. Here's ABC's Kaylee Hartzell.
Tonight, a new warning about a rare mosquito-borne illness that's turned deadly. The virus, Eastern equine encephalitis, or Triple E, now threatening at least 6 states.
Patients can go from being perfectly normal to paralyzed or even dead within 12 to 48 hours.
The first death this season in Massachusetts. 50-year-old Lori Sylvia passing away Sunday. With 4 cases detected there, officials now spraying for mosquitoes where 30 communities are at critical risk. In Michigan, 3 more cases, including 14-year-old Savannah DeHart, who's now on a ventilator and feeding tube.
Her brain is trying to heal itself, and she can't do anything until that happens.
Health officials are also monitoring Connecticut, Delaware, and Florida tonight, where the virus has been found in mosquitoes and animals. Nearly 30% of people with encephalitis from Triple E will die, while many others are left with permanent neurological damage.
It can be very devastating on quality of life.
The vast majority of cases produce no symptoms, some only mild flu-like symptoms, but there is no vaccine or cure for the virus.
For the first time ever, a mosquito batch collected in New Hampshire tested positive for the Jamestown Canyon virus. It was collected in the town of Bow. New Hampshire people have previously been diagnosed with JCV, but this is the first time it's ever been detected in mosquitoes in the state.
Now, health officials in Sarasota County today are warning about dozens of mosquitoes that have now tested positive for the West Nile virus. The health department today is saying that they have been trapping and collecting those mosquitoes at several different sites.